Hey everyone, welcome back to Norton Man Reviews. I'm John, and it's probably been a while since you've seen or heard anything from me. I guess I'm sorry for the two or three of you that watch my videos. I don't get a lot of views, but that's fine. But I just haven't really had a lot of time to get any kind of videos done, and I don't know. I wasn't getting as much joy out of it. And I was feeling kind of like pressure to do stuff, and it just was feeling unnatural and everything. So I will eventually get back into doing some stuff. Um, but, it's probably going to be a while till I can like devote more time to it and sit down and properly articulate thoughts instead of just rehashing what the book that I'm reviewing is. So what am I doing here today? Well, if I time this right, this video will come out around midnight the night of January 5th into the morning of January 6th. And if you don't know, that's my big dumb brother Rob's birthday. So happy birthday, Robert. You are now 32, right? So happy birthday to him. And I'm like, what am I going to, like, I'll text him happy birthday, blah, blah, blah. All that sappy bullshit. But like, let's do something fun. Let's take a look at some of Rob's art from comic books. And a lot of this you've probably already seen. He's shown it on his channel many times. He shares a lot of his art. He does his live streams. So you are seeing like a live stream of him creating and perfecting his craft. But I thought it'd be fun for me to show some of the stuff, mostly from his Master's End stuff. I'm not going to go through every single book. I'm not going to review the books. I do want to do that at some point, to dive into the stories and themes that he was doing and like some of my thoughts of how he created those stories, as he was telling me before he even like wrote and drew them. So, but I want to look at just like focus on some of his art. So we have a bunch of his Master's End stuff, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'll be like cherry picking some stuff out of these, and highlighting some of my favorite sections art wise. And I also thought it would be good, fun to look at this issue of my comic book Bliss that Rob drew for me. I was going to just devote the entire thing just to this one comic. But one, I've already reviewed this with Rob on his channel a while ago. It was a couple years ago. So you might have already seen some of the stuff from this comic book. But this story was a rehash of an older story that I drew decades ago almost now, for a 24-hour comic book day. And I do have those original pages that I wanted to show side by side my art and stories and my thoughts on the story, and then show what Rob did to improve the art, more or less. But that would be, I don't know. I want to do that in its own separate thing. I want to focus on Rob, so I'll do that one at a later time. So you'll probably see these videos like 3 times at some point. So let's take a look at this. So again, like I said, I have my own comic book. I've been drawing for years, and I started drawing by emulating my brother Rob. He started drawing on his own. He just had a knack for it. He's probably told you the story of when he started and what prompted him. As far as I know, it started with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the 1990s movie. And then he started creating his own comics, and I followed suit. He was my older brother by about 5 years or so. And I just was really into it. I was liking what he was doing, and it looked fun, so I thought I'd do that too. It's kind of been the theme of my life, right? I followed him around to several different jobs, followed him around to this, and then doing a YouTube channel. Not nearly as successful as he. But, it is what it is. I've surpassed him on everything except the YouTube channel. My art is so much better. Just kidding, obviously. So I have reviewed, and Robert has also reviewed all of my comics of Bliss on his channel. So I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I did these on my channel. I did a deep dive on these, and then we went to issue number 6. And then I got 7 and 8. I'm currently working on number 9. So I can't remember how this came about. He was working on Master's End a little bit here and there. We didn't really know what we were going to do with it at the time. He certainly didn't know. And then we started going to the conventions, and I started making comic books for the convention specifically. And I don't know, we're like, we can't sell that, and we still can't technically. I'm like, fuck it, we're gonna print it anyways and just do Master's End. So we were working on that on and off. But then I think it was around the third volume or second, I can't remember. We've been working on it for years, right? But at some point, Robert, I forget why, maybe he can chime in, how he came up with the idea of he wanted to redraw my 24-hour comic book. And I think he might have been a little nervous. He's like, I don't want to overstep. I didn't want to make it look like I'm improving on your art, because that's impossible, Robert. But I thought it was very flattering. I'm like, yes, please do it. And then I thought, just do that, and then I will somehow incorporate that story into this, so it'll be like another issue. So I kind of got a break, and while he was working on this for me, since I didn't have to do another issue of Bliss, I could finish my portion on Master's End, which I think was around volume 3 at that time. So that's the story, and I'm sticking to it. So here's the cover. This is my character Bliss, and this is my secondary character Kyle. Now, in my history, Kyle was my main hero for years and years. One of my very first, from a young age. I modeled him a lot after myself. He was just like way cooler than I. And Bliss was kind of the love interest / secondary character. But when I started wanting to make a comic book, I found it was easier to tell a story about her and her past and her character. It was more interesting than this just random white guy, right? So, but I still love this dude, and I have a lot of fun with him. I'm plugging myself as I go along. I also did, based on him, a spin-off series, 3 issues that Robert has also reviewed on his channel with this guy, Kyle, right? So when I originally wrote the story, it was about Kyle. It focused on him. So then I had to kind of figure out how to incorporate this story into the continuity that I had. Now, in this particular story, it's a little backstory. I was going through a breakup at the time. I was very heartbroken, and the only way I knew how to really get out my feelings was through art. And I was doing a 24-hour comic book page, so I basically have this crazy storyline of him fighting vampires, but then the girl shows up and he starts spewing all his emotions out on the page while they're murdering people, right? And so how do I incorporate that story into my current timeline? Because they're nowhere near this level of attraction. He's barely a side note in the first 5 issues. But it's kind of like there's this, in my comic book, there's this book, the Dragon Strike Chronicles, that basically tells it shows the future and past. It has this whole lore about it that I have in my head canon. And so I'm like, okay, this is going to be a chapter in that book, and so this hasn't happened yet, kind of a thing. So it's kind of a future story. How this will ever come across in my own comics, I don't know, but it's there. I don't need to go over it. We're looking at Robert and Robert's art. So when I originally did this story, it started with this page, with my guy Kyle surrounded by vampires, right? I only got 22 pages, but I always do my comics in 24, so I had to come up with 2 new pages. So I had, I'm like, Robert, I need you to do 2 extra pages, because he was only thinking he was going to start from this. And I had to have him draw this picture of Kyle blasting on a motorcycle. I told him, just have it cool, look awesome, epic, and put this book in the background, and then I'll put in the text in there. At a later time, I'll come and go over the story of what that means and everything. And then, as always, in all my issues of Bliss so far, I put a song in there. With Bliss, I always put an 80s song. With Kyle, his is more hard rock and metal. So, in his 3 over here, I did one from a Perfect Circle, one from 9 Inch Nails. This song is from, oh my god, why can't I think of their name? Slipknot, Jesus Christ. No. Yeah? Yeah, it's Slipknot. I mean, Slipknot also has a secondary band from this, the lead singer has a second band. But that's not it. It's Slipknot, right? Bury all your secrets in my skin. I'll play that at a different time. So I had to have him pull up, be cool, get out his guns, flames reflected. So like Robert just he killed it, man. In my comic, I didn't have any backgrounds. I didn't have any time in a 24-hour background. In a 24-hour comic book to put background. So I'm just like, let's do whatever. What's easy? So fire and night sky, great. And I think there's some foliage. Easiest fucking backgrounds to do. No thoughts for it. So it didn't take Robert a lot of time to have to do this. So great work in all these. I love this the silhouette with the highlights and the muscles and stuff up there. All very well done. And he started making these vampires. In mine, they were just very generic vampires, just guys with teeth, right? It didn't matter in my original story who he was fighting, what he was doing. I just wanted to do some cool action shit and then get into the deeper emotional stuff of the story. So it didn't matter. Vampires that he could kill with his guns because I said so. But Robert took the initiative and he started designing some of these cool different kind of vampires. This dude with the fucking wings, this guy with the horns, and this bald dude in this cloak. I'm going to talk about him a little bit when we get going. And we're not going to talk about the story narration. He basically says what I say. And this is all shot for shot, just done better. So I did basically all the layouts, and Robert just did the art. So he didn't have to worry about any kind of layouts. He didn't have to do a lot of thinking in this. So it was probably, I don't know, maybe therapeutic for him. He'd have to tell me. All this is very similar to my art. I love this effect that he can do with his inks. I mean, I have moved into digital, and I did my first 5 issues all traditionally, but Robert has always been able to do some cool stuff with inks, and he had the patience for inking, which I just don't. All cool stuff. The effects, just it sets a mood. He did it really well with the fire and the flicks of the white on here. Here comes the girl jumping out of nowhere, landing as a badass. This is all what I did in mine. He tweaked some of it to make it a little bit more epic, but the layouts and everything is basically the same. Now he did change her costume a little bit. And at the time, I didn't say anything. I didn't care. And I think he even asked, like, what should I put her in? I'm like, well, I don't know. I did have her in an outfit here, black leather with hands taped up. And she has these, like, openings on her side, which I just think is a sexy thing. Like, you can see her skin and flesh there. And he made it different. He didn't do the same thing. Like, her boots are different. And I was like, there's a part of me that's like, it's not consistent. It's not, what's the word? I can't think of it. Whatever. But it doesn't matter. It's also a story in the future. So who gives a fuck what they're wearing, right? This could be what she's wearing. It doesn't matter. Who gives a fuck? So badass shot of her, hero shot, sexy as fuck. Again, awesome use of the flick. And it's like he's scratching, doing some scraping here with this. Very cool stuff. Back there, like how he does the hair. He gets the vibe of Bliss. I always, for whatever reason, when I draw her with a very shadowed upper lip. And I think that's just a way for me to like give her a kind of a facial characteristic, so I always know who she is. So when I see that it's not like that on some of these, it's like that's not how she is. But again, it doesn't matter. It's artist interpretation, and I wasn't like, hey, you got to draw her like this. So it is what it is. Vampire jumps at her. She just kicks him in the fucking face, like one of his fangs is falling out right there. That's cool. blast a guy. I mean, if you don't know, if you haven't followed any of my other reviews or seen his, Bliss is fucking strong. Maybe Captain America strong. I haven't really decided on her strength, but she can punch a bitch. She can probably punch through a fucking brick wall. This is all the same. She's punching people, snapping necks, backhanding, and this is when the story really kind of came together, the writing for me. This is when he sees her again after however many years, and he just starts pouring out his emotions. It just comes out, right? So he's just lamenting to himself. And he only has a couple of guns here, and I don't think Robert took too much time or effort to like look and research a gun. So he did this out of his head, but it looks great. It looks, that's a fucking gun. These are guns. This is a fucking gun. He has a duffel bag, which in my comic he just had somehow. So it was kind of good in this that he strolls up with the bag, right? And I think Robert was like, "What kind of gun should he have?" I'm like, "Give him a fucking a alien's pulse rifle." But he didn't do that, and that's fine. Because in this scene, what I was trying to emulate when I did it, not nearly as well, again, I will say, is in Aliens when Hicks was, they were being overrun by aliens, and Hudson was being pulled down, and Hicks is trying to hold on to him, and Hudson is yanked down and dies, and then like an alien comes lunging at Hicks, and he does this like duck and roll and shooting him as he jumps over him. That's what I was trying to do there. And that's what Robert has going here. It does kind of look at sometimes, he's supposed to be like looking down, he's laying on the grass, rolling, like I said, shooting upwards. But it can also look like he's jumping through the air and blowing him away. And either way, it works, right? Again, with the white and the how does he do that? The white acrylic paint splatters that shit on. Cool stuff. I always like this. I don't think I shadowed him in mine, so this is an improvement on his. This is so now he's just kind of going through memories storyline wise, and this is what I did. Like, this is some of the memories of just laying with the girl in bed and holding her and just kind of being in love and all that kind of shit. Put some details in that I didn't have at the time. But it's very Sin City-esque, too. And I think it looks good in the black and white. I think the one thing I altered with Robert's art when I was editing this is he had her with her choker here, like she is wearing here. And he had that right there. And I'm like, no, when these parts, he's kind of still talking about different memories of her. And this isn't supposed to be her in that moment. This is her, like, just kind of some memories, just like different expressions on her face that he remembers. But he had the choker on her. So I went and, I think with paint, I didn't have Photoshop or anything at the time. I just erased that. And so that's why there's like kind of a gap in the line work here for her neck muscles. And again, this is all my layouts. It goes her, him. And in my comic, again, this is when you're doing 24-hour comic books, there's little shortcuts and things you can do. Sometimes it's doing an all silhouette page. Sometimes it's like putting little tiny face shots at the bottom of the panels and filling it up with words. So I did like tiny headshots that were all the same size. He varied the camera closeness up a little bit, and it totally works. Still shooting, blowing people away, them just taking out people, just being a couple of badasses, because that's what they are. Throws his gun away because it ran out. And then he's, in my comic, I had him take off a shirt, and this is dating me a little bit, and he had a shirt that said "Vote for Pedro," that was from Napoleon Dynamite. But that doesn't really, I mean, we still could have done that. But he's like, what should I put? And I just always had this idea, what I thought was funny. I'm with stupid. He usually has an arrow pointing to somebody to the side, but like pointing down to his dick. I always thought that was funny. So he did that. Still all my same layouts here. shooting this motherfucker in the leg and just pummeling his face, just getting all his rage out on this guy. It's turning him into a mush. I think I emulated Frank Miller's Big Fat Kill. No, not Big Fat Kill. Shit. Stuck. That Yellow Bastard. And he does the same thing there. So that's kind of what I was going for. And then just being angry, and then she comes up, she says something to him, hear her voice again. And there's no dialogue in this whole story. I'm going to suck my own dick for a minute. No dialogue in this whole book. It's all his inner monologue. But I hear her voice again. She walks up to him, and they just look at each other. See, there's a trick for a 24-hour comic, just putting them in silhouette. But it works thematically. And they kiss out of nowhere, and she just says, "I love you." That's the only word bubble. So it made this extremely easy to letter when I was doing it. By the way, if you can hear some giggling and stuff, my wife is getting my 3-year-old ready for bed and out of the bath, so that's that. But she says, "I love you." But that doesn't actually happen. That's kind of the story beat. That's just him kind of in his own head fantasizing. So there he is with her, and there's the same panel. And I think I told him, like, just leave it, and I will just copy and paste that on here. So he had lost his hat and glasses at some point, and here he puts them back on, which I had done. I don't know if I put his hat on. His hat might have stayed on in mine. I can't remember. He definitely put his glasses back on as kind of a shield. And they talk and kind of wraps up the story. I think Robert was getting kind of like, sick of doing the backgrounds on some of this shit. So it's like, it doesn't matter. The backgrounds don't matter at this point. And he really killed it with this last page where he's just upset with himself, and just as she leaves, and he's just sad that he doesn't have her anymore. His heart is broken. And, he's talking to himself here, like, girls who needs them, they're nothing but trouble. I'm probably better off. And then he's like, no, that's horseshit. I need her. And I put the song in, and I was trying to figure out, should I put the song in or not? Because I didn't put the song in on the original. But I put it in here because I wanted to keep going with the theme of me putting music in my books. But I don't know. I think I shouldn't have here. It probably looks better without it, honestly. It kind of clutters up the page. The lyrics, relate to what's going on in the storyline, but I don't know. Hindsight thing. So then Robert did the cover here with him standing and big face shot of her. So I kind of reversed that, switched them, big face shot of him, and then sexy ass her. So that's Robert, who did me a big solid by doing a issue of my comic, just a 24-page thing, and I really, really appreciate it. So now I'm just going to kind of go through some other stuff with some of our books, just to showcase some of his art that I really liked. I'm not going to go through about the story. I've always loved these opening pages. I think I did a review of this full one on his channel. We did this gag a couple years ago where I kicked him out of the room, and I just did a review on this. I don't know if he's ever reviewed his own thing fully. I'm sure he has. But I just always loved, and this was decades ago that Robert drew these, and I think it still holds up. I just love these shots. I love that shot of Evil Lynn there. He was doing some gray tones at the time, which he eventually gave up on. That's always an awesome shot there. And Skeletor comes and does some crazy shit. I'm sure I'm going to pass up a lot. I'm just going to skim through this and try and remember some of the... I have some very specific shots. I mean, without spoiling anything, there's fucking Voltron. That's an awesome thing that he did. Badass shit with He-Man transforming there. And I'm going to... So, shit, fuck. I dropped the thing. So there's this part where He-Man comes out of nowhere, flashes behind Voltron, he comes and punches this motherfucker in the face. I did an homage to that in my current comic book that I'm working on that has not been printed or published. Fuck, I can't show you. My iPad is out of juice. God damn it. Johnny. I'll show it later. But basically, I did an homage to this where I have a guy coming out of nowhere, flying and punching a big fucking robot in the face. I always thought that was cool, him jumping up, attacking Voltron. That would be a cool poster. And then Skeletor has the fucking Thundercat thing. And then it goes into my art. I helped him with these first three, so I did this. I did most of the Thundercat shit. So we'll skip all that, even though it's fucking awesome, because, I'm an awesome guy. And again, this was done years and years ago. Awesome shot of Adam there. This is always good. I like that effect of her powers going through. I like that shot of her face there. Now my kid is running around like a crazy person up there, if you can hear that. Thump, 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 thump. Again, all very cool stuff. This is what I always thought was interesting. Like, Voltron has, like, the black in him, but there where he gets shot, like, I don't know if this... Did Robert get lazy or forget? Or is this an intentional thing? It looks like he's lifeless now. Looks awesome. I always like that up view. Right there. He burns He-Man in hellfire. And this is the beginning of He-Man's crazy, epic, character arc. He's like this fucking monster. Where did I miss it? Yeah, there he is. He got burned. Burned his fucking nose off. So, I am going to review these at some point, but again, I just want to go through some cool stuff and showcase Rob's art. Probably had to draw fucking Grayskull a million different times. That's badass. The vehicle force of Voltron. All the technical shit in this is just really cool. Very well done. Especially there. I always like that shot. Good journey, they say, from the movie. That's a cool effect here. And then it cuts to my art and goes back to the Lion-O and the Thundercat shit. I'm not going to skip over all this one because of whatever reason, Robert, I was running behind. So Robert, he did a bunch of inks over my art. And he did this. And he must have done this. I'm trying to tell, like, these lines, I don't think I would have done there. And the splatter effect up here, I don't think I would have done. Some of this looks, that must be his. My wife can't tell the difference between Rob's art and mine. I'm like, yeah, there's a difference. One significantly better. This is all me. This is all my inking, I can tell. Still me. Did he ink some of this? Because this background looks terribly like him. All this is him. But this looks like me up here. Yeah, like all this shit looks like me. Like this horseshit scratchiness up here. Did he just do some of these because I was just so behind? I'm thinking this is me on this page, but this looks like him. Yeah, he would have done these lines here. I don't think I would have done that. So he inked this. I can definitely tell. Him again. Him again. Almost positive. That's all him. Orko at his most badass right there. That was my idea, but him inking me here, here, and here. I think, yeah. Oh shit. This had to have been him. I don't think I would have done this kind of texture on here. This was me. But this looks down here looks like him. This is definitely him. All this I can 100% tell. That's him. I think these were me up here. Like you can tell, like with his stripes here, you know, they're just different. That this is all him. That's him. I added, I think I might have put like copy and pasted some of the buildings he did down here and just duplicated some of it up here and mirrored it just to put the effect of a city down there. All right, so we're back. So that was all my contribution to this book. So it wasn't as much. She-Ra. Robert said this funny story when he was researching or trying to find reference for She-Ra and her horse, and I think he put in Google "woman with horse," and lots of horrible shit showed up. So I find that funny. Cool, sexy shot of her. Again, like there's so much stuff we could dwell on with his art, but we're just gonna go through some of it fast. I'm actually gonna. I love that. This is cool. That shot of her walking through the bowels of Snake Mountain and the fucking quintessons. I remember him bitching about having to draw all these quintessons down here. Oh, it's so hard to draw mechanical people, and he's right. In my latest issue that I'm working on, I had to draw a bunch of robots, and I let my niece and one of my buddy's kids design the robots. I'm like, God, I wish I hadn't done that. Now I have to draw these bullshit robots every time. This is a fucking badass shot, and I think he's gotten this colored, and I think he sells prints of this. Trapjaw, he's kind of a big deal in his later stories, right? I love this effect that he did with these lines for the shininess of up here and the shading of his eyes and under his nose. I thought that was really well done. Most assholes like myself would probably just black that in. All right, now I think I'm going this section here where He-Man goes and fights Hordak and the Horde. I think this is some of my favorite work that Robert has done artistically. I don't know, there's just something about it, like the mechanical shit he's had to. He put in all this work back here. He-Man, he looks badass but scary. You know, think of it's like when Superman goes evil. What if He-Man was going to come and fuck you up? And here's the Horde, a bunch of these nameless fuckers. There's Shadow Weaver. She becomes a big deal too, right? All this shit is really cool. Yeah, he puts him in a lot of shadows in this. It just kind of makes him look scary. I don't know if he was intentionally doing that, but it's also cool to see these designs, these crazy creatures and characters, and just drawn in a modern way as opposed to the cartoon. Catra gets fucking wasted. He doesn't kill her there. Coulda snapped her neck right there. Basically kills other people. Slices this motherfucker's head right off. This girl with the fucking claw, the Scorpina, whatever, slices that shit off. I love this effect. This guy comes in with my distortion ray will stop him, and these lines here where it goes from black to white. So that effect. And then she comes in with her fucking claws, crunches her there. So he ripped, fucking swiped at her tail and crushed her hands. So I must say, Robert came up with all the storyline and the basic plot. I did write up most of the Thundercats stuff. In the first book, he's like, John, they need to go after the Thundercats, and he did the outline and plot for most of that, and I added some stuff. But then I wanted to continue doing Thundercat stuff. That was going to be the end, just them Skeletor stealing the Eye of Thundera. But I'm like, no, I think it'd be cool if he did some more, and so he let me do some more shit in here. But Robert, this is all his writing here. I love that. Punches that guy in the motherfucking face and it explodes. Just the action lines there. And he's getting burned again by Shadow Weaver. She gets fucking stabbed, and the power makes her go boom. And that's kind of a plot point for the next three, volumes 4, 5, and 6. That's a badass shot with all his scars. Now, I am going to, again, suck my own dick. So, Robert and I have always had a pretty good working relationship where we can, ask each other for advice or opinions on, what do you think should happen here, especially storyline-wise. And you tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm going to tell you that you're wrong, that I'm wrong. I told him he needed to add something with Hordak here, because I'm almost positive it went from that, he kills all these guys, to Hordak coming in and them fighting. But I'm like, no, Hordak, they need to have some words with each other, and it slows down the pace of the story a little bit. And I think it did a service to Robert, because this is some of my favorite shit. Look at all the detail in his charred face right there, and the line work and shit on Hordak's face there. That's just some awesome shit. So you're welcome, Robert. It's made this storyline so much better just with that one input. Hordak usually does some more bullshit kind of weapons, so that's a cool, design with all this shit coming off. I can't think of this kind of shit. They come fighting, die, 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 and this is a scene right out of Predator 2, where he's and screaming as the camera pulls away, and he's walking, thumping away with his severed head. That's some fucked up shit, He-Man. That's the whole point of the story. And yeah. So then that's just him transporting back and kind of losing his shit over what he's done. More amazing line work here. And I'm going to suck my own dick once again. Doing a lot of dick sucking tonight. It was my suggestion. So Lion-O, he's looking for the Eye of Thundera. He gets help, and he finds out that it's on Eternia. So he goes and he fights these dudes, and he makes friends with Battle Cat, and Battle Cat is going to take him to where he thinks it might be, where He-Man is. So they have this badass shot of Lion-O leaping away with Battle Cat to go find and confront He-Man. You don't really know what's going to happen. So it goes from there, and in my book, it was originally going to end with this last page, but I'm like, ooh, let's put this at the back. So He-Man goes through all this horrible shit. He's conflicted about what he's just done. He's lying on the ground there. And that was going to be the end of it. But I'm like, let's put this image, which I drew and Robert inked. Robert might have drawn this whole thing, but I think I definitely like had the idea for it. And that's just a great cliffhanger, in my opinion. Of just like what's going to happen next when these guys show up. So, in my opinion, out of the first three, this was my favorite volume, I think. Thank you for staying with me for 40 minutes. I'm going to keep you around with me for just a little bit longer as we go through volume 3. I'm not going to go through volume 4, 5, and 6. Because that's going to take probably another half hour or more for me to get through. And my wife is probably upstairs like, John, get off that fucking YouTube and come help me with your son. So this picks up. Robert did this drawing for... he did this for as a just a commission for somebody. And I always thought it was cool. I love this shot of this girl. I thought it was extremely sexy, and she's holding a sword. I'm like, let's just put that in. Maybe that's She-Ra. Why not? Who knows? I don't know. You should have incorporated that into... Robert, goddamn it, you should have put She-Ra in this in 4, 5, and 6. Got rid of that damn horse of hers, and she tames this cat of Skeletors. So we did so this whole first part... Besides this opening page, Robert did all this. This is all me, and I basically did the confrontation between He-Man and Lion-O. And we'll... So they have at them, and they have this big fight. We did a lot of homages to some classic covers. So I did this. Obviously, that was from why can't I think of that artist? It's of Wolverine slashing down, and Mike Zeck, right? Slashing down, and that was Captain America deflecting it. And this was a homage to Jim Lee. That was Wolverine fighting Punisher from that crossover they had. So they're fighting, and then there's these done by Rob. This is a Rob Liefeld, right? Yeah, Rob after Rob. Rob's biggest fan, Rob. Is it Cable and Deadpool? I can't remember I can visualize it, but I can't remember the characters. Rob after Mark Silvestri. That was a Wolverine and Sabretooth fighting here from a Wolverine comic book. And then this is a Rob after Jim Lee. I think that was Wolverine and Mandarin from Acts of Vengeance by Jim Lee. We were trying to actually, like, maybe we should do a bunch of them, like, do, like, the Image Founders. But we couldn't really find anything from Todd McFarlane and the others that were any good. So this is when I started, around this time is when I started getting into digital. I did a lot of this by hand on traditional, but then I started doing digital. I did some backgrounds on some stuff. But anyways, we're not here to look at my shit. We'll look at this later. Damn, that's awesome. That's cool. That's fucking awesome, man. Put that on a t-shirt. So, then it got to, again, I think I was running out of time. I can't remember. So here's where my art ends, but I continued this little after epilogue thing between these two. Where they, make up and reconcile, and I had outlined all this, and I wanted to draw it. It would have been a fun thing to do. But for whatever reason, maybe Robert wanted to draw some Lion-O stuff. I don't really remember why we had to do this like this. But this is He-Man telling the story, them coming to an understanding, and He-Man sending him back. But like, he needs to take Cringer with him, Battle Cat, because like He-Man can't. He's in no position emotionally. And I wrote all this section of them having this moment, and Cringer being scared of him, and their farewell. And they have this moment here where they shake hands, but Lion-O's reluctant about it. And too often in comics, I'm so sick of just heroes always being buddy with each other. Like, let's shake each other's hands and just, blah blah bullshit. And Lion-O's like, yeah, what you're doing is not cool, and you're going down a dark path. And I'm glad I met you. Otherwise, I might have become you. And he's like, don't make me return. If you go too far crazy, I might have to come back and stop you. That doesn't ever happen, but that would have been an interesting way. And I kind of like that they left it like we're not the greatest friends. They just had this fucking crazy fight, right? Sorry, I'm back. My son came stomping down. I'm in my basement, and you can hear everything up there, right? Anyways, very sad moment here. Lion-O, yeah, they don't like each other, and Cringer and He-Man have one last look, and I thought that would be a cool, represent, like we saw this in the last volume of how they travel through time and space, or space, whatever. And then just He-Man by himself crying. Crazy line work by Rob. I love this texture on the fucking shit right here. Awesome work. And so, like, that's kind of the big main action story beats. The rest of the story is about He-Man and his emotional turn and what he's just done. So what I kind of like is a lot of times it's not about it. It's not a team-up book. It kind of is. It's a crossover. But it's mostly about He-Man and them. But a lot of times when you have a crossover, you have two heroes coming and having a confrontation and fighting, and then fighting, like joining forces against the common foe. This is opposite. Like, they each had their own individual battles against the foe who fucked them both up. And then at the end is when the two heroes had a big battle. So I kind of like the inverse of that. And I don't think this battle was much bigger. I don't know if it was going to be like this at all in Rob's original headcanon, his original story. I think he was just going to wrap things up with a bunch of little stories here and there, and Lion-O was just going to show up and get the Eye of Thundera, and they'd have a quick chat, which I basically thought was this final. It would basically just be this last stuff here, more or less. King Randor coming in. I like how he did his hair and beard here. He looks just like the character, right? Sexy ass sorceress shows up. She's a ghost. It just seems brighter. I don't know. And then Teela shows up, and I really like this design of her with Teela's head thing and her hair and her costume, but it's like a combination of both. Robert, in his later ones, ditches that idea, and he changes her outfit again, has her hair down. I always preferred this. I always thought this was really cool. I like the idea of it and the design. Then they get together and they do some healing stuff, and his scars fade away, but can you really get rid of the scars internally or something like that? And they get out and they fuck, because that's what you do. And she kind of brings him back, and I like when I'll review this at some point more in depth, but I like the idea that I almost said Superman. He-Man couldn't get to this point with Sorceress and then Teela without his father coming and having this talk with him first. And they didn't have a talk, but it was enough. And I I also did this where, like, when Sorcerer showed up, I did the lettering on all this. And I put hers in this kind of like 3-ring bubble. And if you look back here in my story, there's a moment where Battlecat is contemplating what's happening. Ugh, Jesus. Where is it? Right here. And someone is talking to him. And basically saying, you got to help these two, like, they're going to kill each other if you don't do something. Which he eventually does. But you know, like, who's talking to him? It's fucking Sorceress. Originally it was going to be Orko. But then I changed it because I'm like, I think Sorceress is cooler. So he doesn't have his hand, right? Does he have his hand? His hand got blown off. Didn't his hand? Oh yeah. No, you're right. No, I'm right. Yeah, his hand was blown off as Adam, and then it rematerialized when he became He-Man. Whatever. I was just reminded of that there. I think I helped with some of the shit here. In fact, I know I did. That's cool. Him running off and the ghost of Grayskull, or the spirit of Grayskull, whatever. And everything's kind of hunky-dory. It's a really good idea, and we're going to get into 4, 5, and 6 at some other point down the line, but I just wanted, for his birthday, to showcase some of Robert's art and, like, the storylines that he crafted. And some of this shit that happens at the end of this one plays a big part, a huge part, in the next volumes that he did all himself without any assistance from me or anything. This is my wrap up to the Thundercats shit. And then there's some shit here with Trapjaw and fucking Squid Man. I can't do his fish voice. Anyways, so that there's Rob drawing He-Man. Fucking He-Man. Lion-O. So, as I was saying, he's been drawing for decades and decades. And it's always been both of our dreams to be able to do some kind of comic books as a living, and who knows if that will ever happen. It's definitely, at least for me, looking less and less likely that that's ever going to be a dream that becomes a reality, especially in today's world, especially with AI art and the state of comic books and stuff like that. And it's kind of a really unfortunate thing, but at least we are able to produce some shit. Look how fucking thick this is. Talk about this when he was going through it. He was pumping these pages out like crazy. I thought he was going to kill himself. Can you die of exhaustion from drawing? Because I think he almost did. Look at these books. Look at that. Jesus. Calm down. Anyways, there's 4, 5, and 6. But Robert is he's pumping out shit. And his YouTube channel is he's found an audience in that, and he's able to just fulfill his dream in another way, I think. He gets to showcase his art. He's producing the stories that he wants to do. I'm sure if you asked him, yes, he would love to draw an X-Men comic book or draw and write an X-Men comic book. If he got to do anything that he wanted, he would definitely do that. But this is, is that ever going to happen for him or myself? I don't know. And it is what it is. But he and I have been able to produce some stuff. This is all my shit here. These are fucking 8 issues and then 3 issues, so that's 11, and I'm on my other one, 12, and I helped him with some of this stuff, and that's all him. That's a big mountain of work, and he's doing some other stuff. I haven't seen a lot of his art lately. I don't know how close he is to printing anything. We were printing these for the convention, but we didn't go to the convention here in Salt Lake City the last time. Neither of us did, because of economy, and we weren't making much money, and it was getting kind of discouraging and everything. So, why am I showing my cover? Let's show his cover, right? So, happy birthday, Rob. Hope you have a good day. Hope you enjoyed this video as I yammered on about you for nearly an hour. Boy, whew. No one wants to spend an hour with you like that, huh? I don't know what I mean by that. Anyways, fun times. Thank you, Robert, for always being there and just guiding me through my art career, giving me advice, and you know, he still critiques my art. He was like, no, that's wrong, John, you gotta do this, this, and this. Like, Robert is definitely the better artist of us. I don't know, he said that I'm the better writer, he's the better artist. I think if we could come up with, like, if we could agree on what we would want to do, maybe we could do something together again. But like, I'm kind of really focused on my stuff, he's really focused on his stuff. So, but I had always thought, like, if I had like won the lottery and I could just produce several books, you know, because I have a bunch of different stories, I have like 3 different storylines that I want to go on. I was like, my team book, like, I would have Robert draw that shit. Like, if I could, like, hire anybody, even like a professional artist in the business, like, I would hire Robert to draw my flagship title if I could write it. Like, I would continue doing Bliss, but I have a superhero comic book that is kind of my next issue, kind of leads into. I would 100% have him draw that shit if I could. You know, if I had a choice to be able to pay somebody, and if he was willing, that would be awesome. That would be a dream come true, right? So, again, happy birthday. Go to his channel if you haven't. I'm sure most of you have. You'll probably, you know, this won't get very many views, but I hope those of you who do know Robert will see this video and watch it and just kind of be able to marvel at some of his stuff. He showcases a lot of his art quite often. So people are probably familiar with it, but I just wanted to talk about it on a more intimate, familial level. So, again, happy birthday, Robert. Love you, bro. And we need to get together again soon, hang out, catch up. It's been a while. Maybe do some videos. Good times. So, wish Robert a happy birthday. Go to his channel, donate to his live streams, give him some cash, like and subscribe to his shit and all that. And at the same time, like and subscribe to mine. If you're interested in any of these books, please let me know. I can have copies of all my issues of Bliss and my side story Blood Moon. I do have some of the first 3, but I don't have any of 4, 5, and 6. Those are all his, so you'd have to go to his channel to get that. So you can hit me up in the comments, and I'll kind of explain to you there where to find me, or find me on Instagram, Norton Man Art, or on Facebook, Norton Man Art and Comics, to message me if you're interested in any of these comics. So thank you for watching. Hopefully I'll be able to get some more videos done soon. I'm kind of contemplating doing a second channel of doing movie talk and videos of that nature. That might be a thing sometime in the future. So thank you all for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next video, whenever the fuck that is.